As an occupational therapist, I get extremely excited when parents tell me that their baby started to throw food from the dining table or the high chair, because it lets me know that they're developing great hand skills and also now have the ability of object permanency, which is amazing. But I totally understand why parents find it extremely irritating and they just want some strategies to teach their baby to stop throwing food. So that's exactly what this video is, and you're going to learn all the tips that you need to know to stop your baby throwing food from the high chair or the dining table, so make sure you stick around. Hi, if it's your first time here, my name's Emma and this channel is all about helping you become an extremely confident parent by giving you the tips and tricks that I've learned along the way practicing as a pediatric occupational therapist and being a mum to 2 children. Now, if you want to make parenting significantly easier, make sure you start now by subscribing to my channel and hitting that bell so you won't miss a thing. So your baby started throwing food, which is extremely frustrating, but now if they're under 8 months of age, I would say that it's accidental, because before 8 months of age, really, they don't really have a great grasp and they're not able to purposely release an object. So it's just accidental at this age, but over 8 months, there's definitely a reason behind that. So today we're going to explore some of the possible reasons and then the strategies that will help these reasons and stop your child from throwing food. So one reason they might be throwing food is to tell you that they're full or they've had enough food, and that's because food throwing is a really effective way to get your attention and make sure you react. So as soon as your baby starts throwing food, us as parents normally get in straight away, clear the food off the tray and then clean the baby up and then take them out of the high chair. What you can do to try and stop that food throwing is try and pick up their earlier signs that they've had enough food, and that might be that they start to turn away when you're presenting food, they might close their mouth, or they might start to whinge. What we need to do as parents, and I know it's extremely hard because we want to make sure they're eating enough food, is to respect your baby's wishes. Because if you try and keep force feeding them, they're actually going to become a more fussy eater in the future, and it's not beneficial. So what you want to do is pick up on their earlier signs, and then you tell them, oh, you're finished, and then you clean the food off the tray and then clean the baby and take them out. And then you will avoid food throwing. So this leads me on to my second reason your baby might be throwing food, and that might be because that they're afraid that they have to eat the food that's presented to them. Now this sometimes happens when we're well-meaning parents, but we try and give our baby food when they're not necessarily hungry and we force them to eat it. If that's something you're doing, you need to stop, and that's simply because it's going to lead to a baby who's generally more fussy with eating, and then they don't find mealtimes enjoyable, and neither do you as parents. So just try and pick up on your baby's cues. Stop that feeding your baby when they're telling you they're full, and if you are concerned about their weight or the amount of food they're eating, just go to their GP or their pediatrician and they can have a look and then refer you on to an appropriate health professional. The other reason your baby might be throwing food is that they've learnt cause and effect or object permanency, which means that they know the item still exists when it's no longer in their eyesight, so they might deliberately drop it off the high chair and then they'll look to see where it falls on the ground and then they'll get the next piece of food. As therapists, we get extremely excited about this, but I know it's frustrating for parents. What happens though is when your baby learns this cause and effect, which they will do, they are guaranteed going to start throwing food. What happens as parents, we react with this. So we accidentally reinforce this behavior because when we react, we're really energetic and animated. So we might say, stop, don't throw the food. And then we wave our hands, rush over, and then give your baby lots of attention. What you've accidentally done is reinforce the throwing of the food at that point, because your baby just sees someone who uses a really high-pitched voice, has lots of movement, maybe has a very animated face, and they think it's fun and enjoyable, so they'll keep doing it. And then as parents, we keep reacting. So it's a cycle that you just get into. What you need to do when your baby first starts throwing food is you need to stay calm. Now that is going to be really hard, but when your baby throws the food, you just need to ignore that. You don't go and clean up the food off the ground. You don't go and make a big animated scene for your baby. What you do is you tell your baby what to do, not what not to do. So often we will say, stop, don't throw food. Baby only hears the last part. So they'll start throwing food because they heard, okay, mum said throw food, so I'm going to keep throwing food. What you want to do is tell them what to do. So what you want them to do at this point is put the food on the table or put it in their mouth. So if they're not going to eat it, it needs to stay on the table, but if they're going to eat it, goes in their mouth. So what you do when you see your baby going to throw food is I would gently guide their hand back to the tray or the table, and I would say food stays on the table or in your mouth. And if they keep going to put it over, I would help them drop the food. And you simply do that by bending their wrist so that they accidentally drop the food. But that stops them from throwing the food, and then you reward them for dropping the food. So you do a big hurrah, you make lots of noise, maybe do big clapping so that your baby thinks it's quite enjoyable. So every time they start to go throw the food, you just guide them gently back, or you just use your words and say food goes on the table or in your mouth. Now you need to say this over and over and over. It'd be like a record, but that's totally fine. Your baby's going to learn through repetition and you reinforcing that behavior. Now, some really simple things that make food throwing kind of less likely to happen because you've got a bit more control is you actually remove the plate completely. So I would place the food directly on the tray or on the dining table, and that simply avoids the whole the potential that your baby's going to pick up the plate and accidentally throw it, and there goes all your food that you've prepared. What you can do is present one piece of food at a time, and that just means that you're going to be able to kind of stop them from throwing the food because there's less food on the tray. They're not going to get visually overwhelmed too, but they will play with the food, and then if they start to go to throw it, you're right there and you can tell them that the food goes on the table or in their mouth, and if they don't listen to your instructions, you just help them and guide their hand back. But just having one food means that it's more manageable for you to react and kind of control that situation. Now, if you want some tips on how to make mealtimes more enjoyable, make sure you check out my video. And remember, there's that free PDF document in the description box below which covers developmental milestones that you can be expecting for your baby in their first year of life, which you can print out and refer to, which will give you an invaluable peace of mind as you know what your baby should be doing and when to be concerned. Hope you enjoyed this video and you have the strategies that you need to stop your baby throwing food. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button, and if you want to make parenting significantly easier, remember to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell, and hopefully I'll see you next week where I'll share more parenting tips and tricks.